So the thing about being a police officer is that, and it's crazy too, we could essentially take your freedom away or your life, you know. But we're held to a very, very high standard. And that's why the selection process is hard. You know, we have to go through a ton of background checks, psychological, you know, medical, before even going to the police academy. And then in the police academy, they mentally and physically prepare you for being a police officer on the street. And we're held to a very high standard. So, you know, you could do something and not get in trouble. If I do something and it, you know, I could get in trouble because I'm held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
So yeah, they definitely drill that. Like, don't think that you're invincible just because you're a cop. You know, you're held to a higher standard. So you have to always act with integrity, and you can't like try to finesse the system, to put it in simple words.
Watch out, the clock may tick and your life's over. Choosing to be happy takes weight off your shoulder.
Welcome to the After School Podcast, where we read our lyrics, speak our truth, and even think our thoughts. So, today we are here with an Elizabeth police officer,
Officer Gomez?
Officer Gomez. So, how's your day today?
It was good.
Okay.
You know, it's been a normal, well, there's no such thing as normal in this job. But for the most part, it's been a pretty quiet day.
You said you were on like a little job before you came here?
Yeah,
Where
right
going?
before I got here, actually, we were at a restaurant for a dispute. These two family arguing with a band.
A band?
Yeah, so we get a lot of those. Sometimes we'll get a dispute, and a lot of the times we'll settle it ourselves with the parties, you know.
Okay.
As long as no threats are made or any of that kind of thing, a lot of the times things could be resolved without having to...
Like take someone in?
Exactly, yeah. De-escalation is big. We're supposed to be the higher authority in those situations. So when you escalate a situation as a police officer, it usually just makes things worse. Your job is to try to de-escalate as much as possible. And if you can't de-escalate it, that's when you use other measures to make the situation as calm as possible. But de-escalation is big. I mean, in the academy, we learn all about de-escalation techniques and talking to people. Mental health is a big thing too. So a lot of the times on calls, you feel like you're almost like a social worker of some sort. Like, people have a problem with someone else, or you figure out the problem and you try to find a solution the easiest way where both parties are happy.
So speaking about the academy, what type of training did you go through?
So the academy lasts around 6 months. We do everything from physical training to defensive tactics, firearms training, baton training, chemical agents like pepper spray. We learn a lot about mental health and all aspects of policing. It's a long day. That day would start at 5:30 in the morning, and it would go till about 3:30 in the afternoon, and that would be 5 days a week.
Oh.
Yeah, so we'd only have about 2 days off on the weekend, but by then you're getting ready for the week coming up. You know, you have to make sure your uniforms are all pressed and set up right. You have to make sure you have all your gear set up for the week. You know, any assignments or things like that, or things you have to get done by the next week. So even with those 2 days off, a lot of times you would find yourself just getting ready to go back to the academy.
I remember seeing this thing on TikTok. Like, they pepper spray, like, you just so you know what it feels like. Is that like, did you go through that?
Correct. Yeah, we all get every police officer in New Jersey has to go through that. To be qualified to carry pepper spray, we have to get pepper sprayed.
Oh.
Because the whole reasoning behind that is, one, it makes us more hesitant to use it on people because we know what it feels like. So it makes it so police officers don't just use pepper spray whenever they want, because you know exactly what it feels like.
Yeah.
So you have some kind of empathy for whoever you would have to use it on. And two, it's if you do have to use it, a lot of times the wind could blow back in your face or it could get in your eyes. So you have to know how to essentially not be incapacitated any sort under those effects. You know, if you're dealing with someone and you get pepper spray on you, you have to make sure you could defend yourself essentially. So they would pepper spray us, and then we had to do right after getting pepper sprayed, you have to do a bunch of push-ups, and then you have to run around, try to find like a fake gun in the grass, all while your eyes are burning up. You can't even open them. You have to like force one open just to kind of see the general area. So it's definitely a pretty crazy experience. For me personally, that was the most memorable one of the academy, was getting pepper sprayed.
Okay. Well, is there anything like you struggled to do in the academy? Like something that was like really hard for you to like get through?
For me, it was running.
Okay.
I mean, I was never a runner growing up, and I didn't realize what the running would be like in the academy. You know, towards the end, we got up to 6.5 miles or so. Damn. So it was, for me, that was probably the biggest challenge. Some people, their challenge is waking up early. Some people struggle academics. Firearms training, that's a big one too that some people struggle with. You know, some people almost not pass firearms. But for me, yeah, I would say the running was probably the most challenge for me in the beginning. In the middle, towards the end though, your body gets used to it. You know, it gets stronger. It gets used to the impact and the stress you put on it. So then once you hit a certain point in your running routine where you're like, all right, I guess I could do this.
That's a good mindset.
Yeah. It's all in the mind. A lot of times in the academy, they try to break you mentally.
Really? Like, what did they do?
Well, I mean, you have to be like mentally strong for this job, you know, because sometimes you're dealing with people in the worst moments of their life, you know. So you have to be able to be calm and grounded and not let people have you lose your cool. Because once you lose your cool, that's when the whole situation could go down from there. So they're big on making sure that you could like mentally handle the day-to-day life of being a police officer, and that you don't let stress overcome you. So a big thing with running too is you would think that your body couldn't do it anymore, but a lot of times it's mental. If you push yourself, you'd be surprised what your body could do.
I kind of think that way, like when I'm at the gym.
That's true too.
Like I'm doing curls or like trying to do a bunch of squats. I try to get through it. But did you make any friends, like longtime friends that work with you at the police academy?
So to be honest, when I was in the police academy, we would not really socialize too much outside the police academy because, one, you don't want to really get in trouble while you're there too. And when I went, I was only with one other recruit from my department. So it was just us two, essentially, you know, in that class with Elizabeth Police. But some people do make lifelong friends in the academy for sure. Me personally, I didn't. But some people do. I mean, a lot of times if you go to the academy with a big group of who you got hired with, depending on the agency, you know, that a person in that group might be your partner, you know, for the rest of your career for a significant amount of time.
I only asked because the people that were here yesterday, you knew them. They were partnered together, and they were like partners since the academy.
Yeah, so they went to the academy together.
Yeah.
After you graduate the academy, you do FTO training for 6 months, where you're with a field officer and you learn, you know, essentially how to police, like put it into reality versus just learning it in the academy, which is like a controlled environment essentially. So that's how you learn the most on the road. After that 6 months, then you go into a shift, and a lot of times the new guys will partner up with each other because they went to the academy together.
Okay. But getting to a different topic. Growing up, back in high school or when you were a kid, did you ever see yourself wanting to be a police officer? Did you grow up in Elizabeth?
I didn't grow up in Elizabeth.
Oh.
I did not, unfortunately, grow up here. I live here now, but I didn't go to high school or middle school here. I was born here, though.
Oh.
But growing up, yeah, it was always something I wanted to do. When I was in high school, I did the youth academy twice. That was actually what really made me want to pursue it more, because I remember my father, he he said, hey, you should do the youth academy. And I was like, like, I don't know if I really want to do that.
Wait,
But
I'm sorry. Is the youth academy something involving military or?
So there's a youth academy that the sheriff's department runs here in Union County. It's
Oh.
called the Union County Sheriff's Youth Academy. It's they have 2 age groups. They have middle school and high school. And then you spend 2 weeks at the real police academy here in Union County, John Stamler in Scotch Plains. And it's pretty much like a slightly watered down version of the real police academy. So all the marching we do and the workout in the morning and then learning about policing in the afternoon, it was essentially the same thing, but just watered down, obviously, because we weren't real police recruits. We were, still juveniles and things like that. But that made me want to pursue the career further. So then once the opportunity came, like years later, to take the test for the Elizabeth Police, I took the test and did the whole process and everything. Here I am.
Okay. Was there anything that like ever poked your interest, like other than the police work, like any other, like you never wanted to be a writer or work for a news station or anything else?
Policing's always been kind of like one of the main goals for me. Before doing policing, I actually operated a business. I still do. So that was my main thing. And then once I was able to grow that into what it is now, I decided, okay, I have this. It's good. It's stable. Now I want to pursue policing. Everything kind of just lined up at the right time.
Okay. What's the business you grew?
I have a detailing business for cars.
Cars.
Yeah.
Can you go into detail? What is detailing?
So.
You like add paint or you add wraps to them?
Yes and no. So a lot of times they'll buy like a new car and they'll bring it to us, and then we'll put like a sort of protection on the car. It's there's multiple things we do. We do ceramic coating, which is like a liquid protection we put on the vehicle. We do paint protection film, which is like a plastic. So a lot of people, when they get a new car, they'll bring it right to us and we'll install that. So it's a pretty big market. It's definitely a certain type of client. You definitely need more of like because it's not cheap essentially. So
It's expensive.
yeah. So depending on the car, it depends on if it's worth investing the sort of money to get these products applied.
That's actually really interesting. So you going into being a police officer, what's one of the craziest experiences that you've gone through?
It could be subjective because crazy to you might not be crazy to me, or crazy to me might not be crazy to you. But with being a police officer, you see some of the worst moments of people. So you could see someone, a victim of a crime, and it's sad and everything. But then right after, you might go give a blind man a ride to the eye doctor. So like your day could, just like that, it could change.
Do you ever make like connections with these people outside of like work? Like they end up being your friends or anything? Or
no, that hasn't happened to me yet. I always try to like be involved with the community. I'm big on that. There has been like, for example, I had a 18-year-old girl who left her house, and her mom didn't know where she went. But because she was 18, we didn't have to tell the mom where she went. Eventually, we reported her missing because her mom wanted to report her missing. A few days later, she comes to the police station and the missing girl and says, "Oh, I'm okay. I just don't want my mom to know where I am. We've been having disagreements and stuff like that." So then I call the mom. I'm like, "Hey, your daughter came in. She's safe. She's sound. She doesn't want you to know where she is, but she's okay." And then the mom, like, she had a huge relief, because she's been just worried about her daughter, no idea where she is. So, like, things like that. Like, if I can make someone's day better or give them some sort of closure or help out with any stress they have, that makes me feel good.
That's kind of soothing.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy working for the Elizabeth Police Department?
I do enjoy it a lot. It's a great department. There's a lot of us. There's a lot of opportunities in the department. There's different units and things like that.
Wait, sorry to interrupt you. What made you want to work for the Elizabeth, though? Did you just move here and decide you wanted to work for that one? Or, like, you were over where you first lived and then you were like, oh, I don't want to work for that one?
So for Elizabeth specifically, I felt like it was one of my preferred department to work for in Union County. One, because of the size of it. Two, because of the opportunities. I also worked for the city of Elizabeth for 2 years at City Hall. So I was kind of already familiar with how the city is and things like that. My father works for the city. He's been working for the city for over 25 years for the fire department. So working for the city seemed to have been, for the city of Elizabeth specifically, seemed to have been my calling.
So it's like always been in the family.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have like an outlet to pursue outside of being a police officer and the business? Like an outlet? Like, do you like watching or playing games, or do you...
I like cars. Sometimes I work on my car. You know, I don't really need an outlet from this job, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because instead of treating this as just a job, I feel like it's more of almost not a lifestyle, but it's more integrated into my life where I don't have to feel like, oh, I gotta go to work, you know?
I feel it. It's something that you just love to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I do enjoy it a lot. I mean, it's a very rewarding career, you know? Like I said, you do see people sometimes at their worst moments, but sometimes you help people in those moments. And they're like, when someone says thank you, or if you could change someone's mind about how they feel about the police, to me, that's all that matters. You know, if I could just change one person's mind that maybe didn't like the police, but they had a good interaction with me or another officer or something like that, that could change their mind, and who knows, that could maybe affect in the future if another officer dealt with that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Speaking on how people believe how the police are, how's your take on that? Like, what do you think people think the police are like, and how do you think the police actually are?
So in my experience, like a lot of people, well, you know, with the media and everything, you think that a lot of people dislike the police, but in my personal experience is working as a Elizabeth police officer, and then keep in mind I haven't been on that long, only about a month or so, but I have more people thank me, more people wave to me, smile, greet me, things of that nature, than people give me dirty looks or curse at me or things like that. So I do feel like there is a general consensus that the police are liked. It's just, it might not appear that way.
I understand.
On the media or what you see online. Because nowadays, if a police officer does something bad, you're going to hear about it. But if a police officer does something good, you don't hear about it as much because that doesn't get as much clicks.
Being around police officers, have you been around a certain police officer that's made you think on how a police officer should act? Like a role model to you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we have a lot of great officers in our department. I would say like the main thing is if you act with good conscience and you don't try to take the easy way out or anything like that, that's like the kind of role model you want to be, especially to another officer. You know, you don't want to, you have to genuinely want to help people to exceed in this job. If you're not that type of person, or if you're just here just for the paycheck and you don't really care, eventually the job is just going to eat all over you and you're just not going to be happy at all at work. So you have to already kind of come into the job being someone that is willing to help and get people when, like I said, they're in sometimes the hardest moments in life, be able to guide them and help whatever situation they're in. So I would say that the number one important thing for an officer is to just genuinely care and to never take shortcuts.
Okay. Are there any like issues with the Elizabeth Police Department? Any issues? Are you ever afraid to speak your mind on those issues or speak up?
I mean, it's a very welcoming department, so any issues you have, you could speak up. It doesn't feel like, you don't feel like you're going to get retaliated against if you do bring in issues. You know, that's why we have internal affairs and all that kind of stuff. So far, my month working, I haven't seen any issues.
They're all just they're kind and they're a
I've been
welcome like
very
a family.
welcome. Yeah, it feels like you're welcome to a family. For
Okay.
sure. Every morning, everyone says hi to each other. You know, you pass by someone in the hallway at the precinct, you're gonna wave or give them a high five or a handshake of some sort.
Mm.
It don't matter who. You know, you could have a superior, a guy with 20 years on you, 25 years, and he'll still say hi to you, even if you're a fresh rookie like me.
Mm.
You know, so it's very welcoming in that sense. Everyone's very like treats you good, and we all look out for each other.
Mm. And is there like a lot of paperwork? Like
Yeah,
like a lot of paperwork?
there's a good amount of paperwork. You know, we usually will write a report pretty much for every incident we go to, depending on the incident, of course. But at least there's gonna be a report. You know, you get a vehicle accident, you got to write a report, and then you got to write another report that's just meant specifically for the motor vehicle accident.
Oh.
You know, if you get an arrest, you have to write an arrest report. You have to write a normal report. You have to write the property. There's a lot of paperwork that
Oh.
goes on into being policing. So it's not just out on the streets and stopping crime, you know, because you're on the streets, you stop crime, there's going to be a lot of paperwork to follow.
Mm.
And sometimes officers might get discouraged from that, but it's just part of the job at the end of the day.
What's the main thing that you would say you enjoy doing as a police officer?
I like meeting people. I honestly, I like meeting I've met so many different people from different backgrounds and different situations they're in. And I'm a big people person. So just having a normal conversation with someone, even whatever the conversation is, if I could make them feel good about interacting with me, then that makes me happy.
Yeah.
And also like just doing the right thing. You know, if someone does something wrong to someone, if you put that person away or you help the victim out, you know, that makes you feel good because you helped out a victim. You know, someone did something bad, and you either gave closure to the victim or you stopped that person. You know.
Understandable. Is there something you hate about being a police officer? Like nothing you can't find anything like you like hate about being a police officer? Like even if it's just like, oh, this annoys me, I don't like doing that.
No, not really. I mean, sometimes it gets hot out there. If you're standing out there and
Okay.
it's 100 degrees, you're wearing all this gear, you're like, man, I'm sweating. But other than that, like I said, I've only been on a month, so I haven't had like anything like super crazy that's made me think like reconsider the job.
Has anything weird happened to you as a police officer?
In
Like-
what sense?
Like in a sense of like you're riding your police car and
And I just see something.
you just
out
see
there.
some
I mean, yesterday I had a dude on Broad Street with a horse.
with a horse?
Yeah, with a service horse. He got kicked out of a store. They said no, you can't bring that horse in here. But he actually could. It's a service horse. So we looked into it, you know, with the American Disability Association and everything, and it's a legit thing. So you see sometimes you see some wild stuff here that just like it just makes you, you know, like wow, that's pretty funny.
When you have kids, or if you have kids, would you want them to go into this career of becoming a police officer?
If they want to, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to try to force my kids to do anything. I mean, they'd have to want to do it because, like I said, if you don't want this job, you're not going to be a good police officer. It's just gonna tower over you, and eventually, you know, you won't last. But I would, you know, for example, my father, I looked up to him a lot because he worked EMS for the Elizabeth Fire Department for
Yeah.
over 25 years. So he saved babies and gotten people out of, he saved lives. So I've always looked up to that, and that was kind of like a factor in me getting this job. So like if I have a son or daughter or whatever and they look up to me in that sense, I could see them doing that. But I would never pressure it or make them do that. You know, I would maybe encourage it, you know, if that's what they want to do. But no, my kids don't have to be cops. It's completely up to them, you know. Whatever their goal or their purpose in life is, or their goals and aspirations, that's what I would want them to do. I wouldn't want them to they can't have to be a police officer, you know.
I get it.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't be mad if they weren't a police officer.
I'll let you finish the prime.
It's a good drink.
Yes, it is.
Sponsor me, Prime.
Sponsor Prime. do you see any? I mean, what's the type of crime, like the biggest type of crime that you have seen in Elizabeth, or noticeable things that you've seen, like a pattern in a sense?
I mean, believe it or not, right now one of the biggest issues in Elizabeth is parking complaints.
Okay, I kind of understand that.
Yeah.
I get that.
That is one of the main jobs we get in is a parking complaint.
Mm.
You know, I work day shift. So obviously days are going to be a little bit different than nights because when the sun goes down, things change. But from my experience, yeah, parking complaints has been the number one problem in the city, and scooters riding around without license plates.
And is there? I'm not saying that you've been a part of that or like seen that, but have you noticed any talk of major gun violence in Elizabeth?
So, you know, there's gonna be once in a while like you get some sort of shooting or things of that nature, but it's usually isolated. You know, the gun violence itself in Elizabeth isn't like everywhere in Elizabeth. You know, a lot of the times, like 15 Post, for example, the post I work for right now currently.
Wait, can you go deeper into that? Because I don't. What is 15 Post?
15 Post is Elizabeth Ave. All of Elizabeth Ave, and there's certain spots of it that extend out just a little bit.
Okay.
So there's this one section in 50 Post that sometimes they have some incidents involving firearms. A lot of times though, we will, you know, if someone's reported for a gun, we're gonna do everything we could to find them and stop them from committing a crime before it happens.
Yeah.
So we're big on that preventative policing. You know, trying to stop the problem before it becomes a problem. So we have like a drone unit, for example. So let's say there's a man with a gun, gets called in by someone. Oh, I just saw someone with a gun.
Okay.
You know, they're gonna send out the drone unit. That drone unit's gonna get to that person before us, and already have eyes on that guy.
Okay.
So a lot of the times we could stop crimes before it happens.
Wow.
With
Wait.
all the new technology and things like that.
Okay. What do the drones do? They just like tell you that he's right here, or?
Yeah, they're like eyes in the sky.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So it's like support system.
Because I think the sergeant that I interviewed before, he was talking about how there was a drone system.
Yeah, it's pretty new. It's been around for a couple years now. They're expanding it. So now it's more of a full-time thing. They have dedicated officers that all they do is just patrol on a drone.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it's really nice because if you get into a foot pursuit or a chase or you're looking for someone, they'll get there before you. I actually had a 3-year-old that was reported on the a fire escape, an apartment building. There was just a 3-year-old hanging out on a fire escape. So we get there and the drone was already there. The drone relayed the dispatch. Oh, child has been located, is in safe. You know, they were able to tell us exactly where the kid was, so we were able to go find the kid and eventually reunite him with his parents. So
that's kind of cool. The technology is like growing.
yeah, it's really big. I mean, there's cameras everywhere. You know, you'd be surprised where there's cameras in Elizabeth.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
So is there a certain rank that you hope to get in the police business? Like, do you want to be sergeant one day, or?
I mean, this early on in my career, it's hard to tell exactly what I want to do with my career. Right now, I'm more focused on just learning how to be a good cop, essentially, or a good patrolman. Once you learn the streets and all aspects of the policing, because patrolmen do a lot of aspects of policing. You know, they're the first responder, essentially. They're the first one that has contact with someone. So if you do that job really good, then at that point, you're like, okay, what do I want to do with it? Do I want to be a boss? Do I want to go to a unit? You know, do I want to maybe work with the community, you know, doing community policing types of things? There's a lot of different ways you could go with this job. It's not just patrolling the streets. You know, do you want to go into investigations or be a detective, that kind of thing? So, but this early on, it's hard to tell exactly what I'd want to do. Some guys, they stay patrol officers their whole career. They just enjoy doing patrol, and that's it. That's what they want to do. So everyone has a different set of skills and things that help them exceed depending on where they want to go.
Why didn't you want to become a firefighter like your dad?
So he's actually EMS for the fire department.
EMS. Oh, emergency services. Why don't you want to go into what your dad did?
You know, some people ask me that sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't
One,
want to like
one
go into
police,
that.
the opportunity for police came before fire, and two, it's a different type of job. Firemen, they're obviously they're first responders too, but the way they deal with things and the way we deal with things is a little bit different. And me personally, after working the job, even just a month, I would rather be a police officer than a fireman.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing wrong with firemen. Obviously, we need
Obviously.
them too. At the end of the day, all first responders are a team. They all work together.
They do.
You know, we go on calls where there's firemen already there, or we go on calls and EMS is already there. So at the end of the day, policing for me, it just felt like it was right.
Can you give us 3 words to describe your opening experience in joining the police department?
3 words.
3 words.
It's a good one. 3 words. I would say exhilarating.
Exhilarating.
You know, sometimes
That's a
you
big
get
one.
a big adrenaline dump. You know, you get
Yeah.
a hot job comes in, you turn on lights and sirens, and you go. You know, someone's in trouble, you gotta help them. So it could be exhilarating sometimes. Sometimes it can be sad. Sometimes you see some sad stuff. You know, and then I would say probably throw in rewarding. You feel good. You feel
Rewarding.
good about the job, especially if you help someone or you give someone closure, things like that. You feel good.
Okay. Finally, is there anything you would like to say to someone that really is looking into becoming a police officer and working for Elizabeth?
So make sure your physical fitness is good for academy purposes, because obviously you have to make it to the academy to
Okay.
be a police officer. And some people go into the academy, they're not ready for it. They just they're physically can't keep up with the workouts that we do there. I would say also
Do those people still graduate the academy?
Hmm?
Do those people still graduate the academy?
no. If you can't, the way the academy is if you can't do the workouts, you will eventually get kicked out. Yeah, you have 13. They allow you 13 zeros, meaning if let's say we're working out and I can't do something with everyone else, then I would get a 0. So if you get 13 zeros, you get dismissed. That's a New Jersey State Police Training Commission policy.
Dang, I didn't know.
So I would say that's one of the big things. You know, you could also learn about case law, you know, criminal code, things like that. That's stuff going to help you, especially further on in your career. You know, if you're already thinking about becoming a police officer,
that.
and really just
Wait, is that case laws in college?
not case laws in college, but
Oh.
a lot of times there'll be a law, but then someone challenges that law, and then they end up overruling that law, and they call that case law, essentially.
Oh.
So there's like certain case that challenges the law, and then the superior court will say, okay, that kind of makes sense. You know, so there's like certain situations where case law overrides the actual law. So sometimes you need to know certain case laws depending on the situation. Very hard to explain. A lot of lawyer talk. You know, at the end of the day, like, our job as the police, prosecutor's office job is to prosecute. You know, they
Yeah.
have full-time lawyers working, you know, assistant prosecutors. They're the ones that will put the criminal in jail,
Okay.
you know. So I would say those are the main things, you know. Just be passionate, care about people, be fair, you know. Don't think that just because you have a gun and a badge that you're above everyone. Because at the end of the day, like, we're just people, you know. I wear this uniform, yeah, but I'm a normal person at the end of the day. I don't want to just put someone in jail just because they got me mad or something. That's not right to them.
Is that something they try to get across at the academy? Like that when you become a cop, you're not going to be above everybody. You're just going to be a person that can help people.
Correct, yeah. Because, I mean, so the thing about being a police officer is that, and it's crazy too, we could essentially take your freedom away or your life, you know. We're held to a very, very high standard. And that's why the selection process is hard. You know, we have to go through a ton of background checks, psychological, you know, medical, before even going to the police academy. And then in the police academy, They mentally and physically prepare you for being a police officer on the street. And we're held to a very high standard. So, you know, you could do something and not get in trouble. If I do something and it, you know, I could get in trouble because I'm held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
So yeah, they definitely drill that. Like, don't think that you're invincible just because you're a cop. You know, you're held to a higher standard. So you have to always act with integrity, and you can't like try to finesse the system, to put it in simple words.
Can you give me 3 words to describe?
Oh, man, 3 words again.
Yeah, 3
It'd be
words
tough.
again. 3 words to describe yourself.
3 words to myself.
Yeah.
Let's see. 3 words to myself. Oh man, I'm gonna sound like a narcissist. I would say caring. I definitely care about people.
Okay.
Open-minded. Like I'm not very like, my views and stuff are not very narrow, you know. So I like to see what others. Sometimes people have different perspective on things, you know. So it's always good to kind of hear their opinion and see where they're coming from. So open-minded, and I guess outgoing. I'm a pretty outgoing person, I would
I
say.
kind of see that.
Yeah.
You're outgoing. You're really easy to talk to.
Yeah, I have no problem talking to people. I talk to people all day, different age groups, races, colors, gender, whatever it is. I talk to all sorts of people all day. And you just have to learn how to talk to people. This job's all about talking to people. You know, if you can't talk to someone right, you could either get yourself in trouble or you're not helping that person. So a lot of it's just talking to people, you know, just using your words. Words are very powerful.
Yes, they are. Okay, thank you so much, Officer Gomez, for being with us today.
I appreciate you inviting me out for this.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.